9. Powerful prayers to protect your life against evil plans. There are moments in life when you feel an invisible weight pressing against you, when situations seem strangely aligned to block your path, when words and actions from others wound deeper than they should, and when fear whispers that forces beyond your control are working against you. These are not coincidences. They are signs that you are walking in a world where both light and darkness are real, where evil plans exist, but also where divine power reigns supreme. This is why the need for protection is not optional. It is vital. Every day, battles take place beyond what your eyes can see. Some are subtle, disguised in envy, jealousy, and hidden intentions. Others are direct, expressed through injustice, slander, and opposition that seems relentless. Yet in all of this, you are not defenseless. There are prayers that do more than comfort. They create a shield, a barrier, a wall of divine fire around your life. The cry for protection is not a cry of weakness. It is the declaration of someone who understands that human strength has limits, but God's power has none. It is the recognition that while the enemy may plot in secret, heaven sees every plan and has already prepared the way of escape. Prayer lifts your voice into the courts of God, where no weapon formed against you can prevail. As you open your heart to these prayers, you will realize that protection is not just about survival. It is about walking in confidence, knowing that every step you take is covered by the presence of the Almighty. It is about believing that evil may rise, but it cannot conquer, that darkness may threaten, but it cannot extinguish the light within you. This journey begins here, with a decision. To no longer live in fear of the unseen, but to walk boldly under the covering of God. Each prayer you will hear has been designed to fortify your spirit, to guard your home, to silence negative voices, to break hidden traps, and to seal your life with peace and strength. So let your heart lean in. Let your soul prepare itself, for as we step forward, you will discover that there is no evil plan too strong, no hidden scheme too deep, and no darkness too overwhelming that can resist the power of a life covered in prayer. Recognizing the spiritual battle. Life often feels like a series of visible struggles, financial pressures, strained relationships, health challenges, disappointments, and losses. Yet behind these visible battles lies another layer, a realm that most overlook, the spiritual battlefield. To recognize the spiritual battle is to acknowledge that your life is not only shaped by what happens in the physical, but also by forces you cannot see. Denying this reality leaves you vulnerable, but understanding it equips you with the awareness needed to stand firm. The scriptures are clear. We do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against powers and forces of darkness that attempt to manipulate, deceive, and destroy. This truth should not create fear, but awaken vigilance. It explains why certain patterns seem to repeat, why some obstacles feel heavier than they should, and why opposition sometimes rises without explanation. When you recognize that the fight is spiritual, you stop wasting energy fighting the wrong enemies and start directing your strength toward the real battle. Awareness is the first step toward victory. Think of a soldier who walks into a battlefield blindfolded. He will be overwhelmed quickly, not because he lacks courage, but because he cannot see what he is facing. In the same way, many people live spiritually blind, unaware that the discouragement, confusion, or hostility they face is not random. When you see it for what it is, you can respond with clarity and authority. This recognition also shifts how you interpret opposition. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin to ask, "What is the deeper strategy behind this, and how can I confront it with prayer?" You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances and begin to walk as a warrior equipped with spiritual weapons. The enemy thrives on ignorance, but the moment you open your eyes, his power begins to crumble. The beauty of recognizing the spiritual battle is that it leads you directly into God's strategy. Prayer becomes more than a ritual. It becomes a weapon. Scripture becomes more than text. It becomes your defense. Faith becomes more than belief. It becomes your shield. Suddenly, what once felt overwhelming now becomes an opportunity to see God's power at work. And here lies the most important truth. You are not alone in this fight. The battle may be spiritual, but so is your help. Angels are assigned to guard you. The Spirit of God intercedes for you, and the presence of the Almighty surrounds you. The recognition of the battle is not the end of your peace. It is the beginning of your strength. So as we move forward, hold on to this. Awareness is protection. The more you understand the reality of the spiritual battle, the less power the enemy has over your mind. You are not fighting for victory. You are fighting from victory, because the cross has already declared the final outcome. And as each prayer unfolds, you will see that no evil plan can succeed against a life anchored in this truth. The shield of divine presence. There is a strength beyond human ability, a force greater than any plan of destruction, and that is the shield of God's presence. When you walk under His covering, you are never truly exposed. His presence is not a distant concept. It is a living reality that surrounds you, goes before you, and stands behind you. To understand the shield of divine presence is to recognize that the greatest protection you can carry is not physical, but spiritual. Think of a soldier equipped with the finest armor, yet the most impenetrable defense is not steel or iron. It is the presence of the Creator Himself. This presence is not passive. It actively resists every scheme of the enemy. The arrows of envy may be launched, the traps of deceit may be set, the voices of destruction may rise, but they cannot pierce the barrier of God's protection. Where His presence rests, no darkness can prevail. This shield is experienced most clearly in moments when fear tries to dominate. How many times have you faced situations that should have broken you, yet somehow you stood firm? How often have you walked into rooms heavy with hostility, yet felt an unexplainable calm cover you? That is not coincidence. It is evidence of the shield of divine presence. God was with you then, and He is with you now. But this shield is not automatic. It is accessed through intimacy with God, through a life anchored in prayer and trust. When you invite Him into your battles, you are no longer standing alone. You are standing with the One who commands heaven's armies. His presence builds a wall around your heart, your mind, your family, and your future. Evil plans may be formed, but they collapse when they encounter His presence. Living under this shield does not mean trials will never come. It means trials cannot consume you. It does not mean enemies will not rise. It means they will stumble and fall before you. Divine presence transforms the battlefield because it reminds you that the outcome is not determined by the strength of your opposition, but by the greatness of your protector. This truth also changes how you walk through life. Fear loses its grip when you know you are covered. Anxiety begins to fade when you remember that the Almighty is surrounding you. Confidence is restored when you believe that even in the valley of shadows, you are not abandoned. His presence is not a concept to be admired, but a reality to be lived in every step you take. So as you prepare your heart for the prayers that follow, let this truth sink deeply into your spirit. The shield of divine presence is with you. It is guarding your path, watching over your nights, and covering your days. No evil plan, no hidden attack, no whispered curse can break through the wall that God Himself has placed around your life. Stand firm in this assurance because His presence is your strongest defense. First prayer, strengthening the soul against fear. Fear is one of the most powerful weapons the enemy uses to weaken the human heart. It paralyzes, blinds, and whispers lies that make mountains appear larger than they are. Fear magnifies threats and minimizes faith. But prayer is the key that unlocks courage, and when lifted with sincerity, it transforms trembling hearts into steadfast souls. The first prayer for protection is a cry to God to replace fear with strength, to silence anxious voices, and to establish peace that no darkness can shake. When fear grips you, it is not only your emotions that suffer, your decisions, your relationships, and even your health can be affected. Worry drains your energy, stress weakens your body, and dread steals your clarity. But fear is not just a natural reaction. It is also a spiritual attack designed to rob you of the confidence that God has already given. That is why prayer against fear is more than comfort. It is warfare. In this moment, your words become weapons. dismantling the lies of fear and rebuilding the truth of faith. The prayer begins by acknowledging God as the ultimate source of courage. You declare that His presence is stronger than any threat, that His promises are greater than any uncertainty. As you lift your voice, fear begins to lose its hold, because fear cannot remain where faith is spoken. Imagine standing in a dark room. Light does not argue with darkness. It simply shines, and the darkness vanishes. In the same way, prayer illuminates your soul and drives fear away. As you pray, ask God to fortify your heart like a fortress, to fill your mind with clarity, and to anchor your soul in peace. Speak words of life over yourself. I am not a slave to fear. I am a child of God. I am covered. I am guarded. I am strong. These declarations shift the atmosphere of your spirit, because the more you speak truth, the less room fear has to breathe. In this prayer, you also invite God to expose the roots of fear. Some fears are born of past wounds, others from lies you've believed for too long. Bringing them into the light allows His healing power to uproot them completely. You no longer need to carry the chains of fear inherited from your past. You can walk freely into a future covered by divine protection. And as the words rise, your heart begins to feel lighter. Your pulse slows, your mind clears, and strength flows like a river through your being. This is not imagination. It is the tangible reality of God's Spirit working within you. Fear may knock, but courage answers. Fear may whisper, but truth shouts louder. Fear may approach, but faith sends it fleeing. So let this first prayer be your foundation. Lord, I surrender every fear to you. Strengthen my soul, fill me with courage, and let your peace guard my heart. I choose faith over fear, trust over doubt, and strength over weakness. No evil plan will prosper, because I am shielded by your presence. As you declare this, you step into the freedom of knowing that fear has no authority over your life, because your soul is secured in the hands of God. Second prayer, breaking the chains of envy and malice. There are battles that come not from strangers, but from the hidden intentions of those who look at your life with envy, resentment, or bitterness. Sometimes you sense it in the coldness of a glance, in the sharpness of words spoken behind your back, or in the sudden resistance you face when walking toward progress. Envy is a destructive force, one that silently plots to diminish your light, while malice seeks to distort, wound, and derail your journey. But prayer has the power to expose, dismantle, and break every chain of envy and malice raised against you. This prayer begins with an act of release. Instead of fighting fire with fire, you choose to place every hidden agenda into the hands of the one who sees all. You acknowledge that God knows the hearts of people better than you ever could, and you trust Him to guard your life against attacks both visible and invisible. This surrender is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength, for when you hand over the battle to God, you invite the armies of heaven to fight on your behalf. As you lift your voice, you ask God to cut off the influence of envy directed toward you. Like arrows shot from a distance, envy attempts to pierce confidence, to create doubt, to drain joy. But in prayer, you declare that no arrow will strike, because the Lord is your shield. You proclaim that your worth, your blessings, and your path are secure in Him, untouchable by the bitterness of others. You also pray for the breaking of malice, the intentional harm planned in darkness, the words spoken to curse, the schemes designed to trap. In this moment, you ask God not only to protect you from these attacks, but to render them powerless, to turn them back, and to transform them into testimonies of His deliverance. What was meant to harm you becomes fuel for your growth. What was designed as a weapon falls useless at your feet. And here lies a deeper truth. When you pray against envy and malice, you also guard your own heart from being poisoned by them. It is not enough to be shielded from others. You must also resist the temptation to respond with bitterness. So you pray not only for protection but for purification. You ask God to keep your spirit free from hatred, to replace anger with forgiveness, and to fill you with compassion, even toward those who wish you harm. As these words rise, chains begin to break. The invisible grip of envy weakens, the weight of malice lifts, and you feel the freedom of walking in light untouched by the shadows of others. You no longer carry the burden of watching over every whisper, every glance, every rumor, because you know that heaven itself watches over you. So let this prayer echo in your heart. Lord, I break every chain of envy and malice raised against me. I declare that no hidden plot will succeed, no evil word will prosper, and no weapon formed against me will stand. Guard my life, purify my heart, and let your presence surround me as a shield of fire. I am protected, I am secure, I am free. And as you speak it, you walk forward, not in fear of envy, but in the confidence that God's favor is greater than any plan against you. Third prayer, protection on the daily path. Every day you step into a world filled with both opportunities and dangers. Some threats are visible, accidents, conflicts, or sudden disruptions. Others are invisible, spiritual traps, distractions designed to steal your peace, or situations orchestrated to derail your focus. This is why you cannot walk your daily path unguarded. Prayer is the shield that goes before you, securing every step and ensuring that no plan of destruction succeeds as you move through your day. This prayer begins with surrendering the path ahead to God. Before the sun rises fully, before tasks and demands crowd your mind, you pause and dedicate every moment into His hands. You ask Him to guide your thoughts, your decisions, and your actions, so that even the smallest steps are aligned with His will. When you do this, you invite divine order into your day, pushing back chaos before it has a chance to settle. As you pray, you also cover every place you will walk, your home, your workplace, the streets, the conversations you will have. You declare that God's presence surrounds you like a hedge of fire, that His angels stand guard on the right and the left, and that His Spirit goes ahead to prepare the way. You speak against accidents, misunderstandings, and traps, declaring that none of them will find room in your path because you walk under the covering of the Almighty. This prayer also acknowledges the reality of distraction. Not every danger comes as an open attack. Some come disguised as small choices that pull you away from what matters. In this prayer, you ask God for discernment, to recognize what is meant to bless you and what is meant to trap you, to see beyond appearances and to walk in wisdom. You ask for eyes that see and ears that hear, so that no hidden plan can catch you unaware. And you also pray for strength. Some days are not only about what you encounter, but about how you respond. Stress, conflict, and unexpected challenges can push you toward anger or despair. But with prayer, you invite peace into your reactions and clarity into your decisions. You declare that no matter what arises, you will not be shaken, because your foundation is secure in God. As these words fill the air, you feel lighter, as if a covering has been placed over your steps. Fear of what could happen begins to dissolve, replaced by the confidence that you are not walking alone. Every step echoes with the assurance that God is with you, that His Spirit guides you, and that His power surrounds you. So let this be your declaration. Lord, I dedicate my path to you today. Guard my steps, shield me from traps, and guide me with wisdom. Let your presence surround me, and let every plan of harm be destroyed before it reaches me. I walk in safety, I walk in strength, I walk in peace. And with this prayer, you step into your day covered not only by intention, but by divine protection that no evil can break. Fourth prayer, guarding the family and the home. The place where you rest, the people you love, and the walls that hold your most intimate moments are more than physical realities. They are sacred spaces. Yet they are not exempt from attack. The enemy often seeks to sow division in families, to disturb peace in the home, to plant seeds of conflict, fear, or disunity. That is why this prayer is a shield, a covering not only for yourself, but for those connected to your life, sealing your home as a refuge of divine presence. This prayer begins by lifting each member of your family before God. You speak their names with intention, entrusting their health, their safety, their decisions, and their futures to His care. You declare that your loved ones are covered by the blood of Christ, hidden in His grace, and shielded from both physical harm and spiritual attack. Even when you cannot be near them, this prayer places them in the hands of the One who is everywhere at once. As you pray, you extend protection over the very space you call home. You ask that every room be filled with peace, every corner filled with light, and every door guarded by angels. You declare that no spirit of fear, no energy of chaos, no presence of destruction has permission to enter. Your home is not simply a building, it is a sanctuary, a place where God's presence dwells and His blessings flow. In this prayer, you also address the hidden battles families often face. Words spoken in anger, misunderstandings, grudges carried silently. These too can erode the strength of the household. So you pray not only for protection against external attacks, but also for healing within. You ask God to restore communication, to deepen love, to bring forgiveness where wounds have lingered. You declare that your home is not a place of division, but of unity, not a place of fear, but of faith. This covering is more than symbolic. Families that are lifted daily in prayer walk with a strength that cannot be explained. Conflicts resolve faster, peace settles deeper, and love flows stronger. The home becomes not only a shelter from storms outside, but also a well of encouragement that empowers each member to face their personal battles. And as these words rise, you begin to feel assurance settling in your spirit. Worry about your loved ones eases, replaced by the certainty that they are surrounded by divine presence. Anxiety about the safety of your home fades, replaced by confidence that God Himself watches over your walls. This prayer transforms concern into trust, fear into peace, and fragility into strength. So let this declaration seal your heart. Lord, I lift my family and my home to You. Place Your covering over every life and fill every room with Your peace. Let angels guard our doors and let Your presence dwell among us. No plan of destruction will find us, for we are hidden in You. My home is a refuge, my family is protected, and together we walk under the shield of Your love. With this prayer, your household becomes more than a dwelling, it becomes a fortress of faith. Fifth prayer, breaking hidden traps. Not every plan of destruction comes openly. Many are hidden, disguised as opportunities, relationships, or decisions that appear harmless at first glance. These traps are subtle, designed to catch you unaware, to pull you into confusion, to entangle you in situations that drain your peace and steal your focus. That is why this prayer is vital. It asks God to reveal and dismantle every hidden trap before it has the chance to take hold of your life. This prayer begins with a cry for discernment. You ask God to sharpen your vision, to give you eyes that see beyond appearances and ears that recognize His warnings. You acknowledge that on your own, you cannot always distinguish between what is safe and what is dangerous, between what is a blessing and what is a trap. But when you walk with His wisdom, deception loses its power. Darkness cannot disguise itself in the light of His presence. As you pray, you invite God to go ahead of you, searching the path you cannot see, removing obstacles before they appear, and exposing intentions before they unfold. You ask Him to dismantle plots set in secret, to disarm those who work in shadows, and to destroy plans whispered in darkness. Every snare that was meant to capture your steps is cut apart by His hand, leaving you free to walk in safety. But this prayer does not stop at protection. It also asks for strength. Because some traps are not external, they are temptations that rise from within. Pride, impatience, fear, or desire can lead you into decisions that harm more than help. So you ask God to guard your heart from being lured into choices that look attractive but lead to destruction. You ask for the strength to say no when the temptation is strong, and the courage to wait for His timing when impatience tries to rush you. This prayer is a declaration of freedom. You proclaim that no hidden plan will prosper, no secret snare will succeed, no disguised attack will take root. You cover your life, your family, your work, and your future with the assurance that God's hand goes before you. You declare that what was meant to trap you will instead reveal His power to deliver you. And as the words flow, peace rises. Anxiety about what might be hiding ahead begins to fade. You no longer walk in suspicion, but in confidence, knowing that God's eyes see farther than yours, and His hands dismantle traps before you even reach them. What once felt like uncertainty now feels like security. So let this be your prayer. Lord, reveal every hidden trap set against me. Expose what I cannot see, dismantle what was planned in secret, and protect me from choices that lead to harm. Guard my steps, purify my heart, and let no plan of darkness succeed. I declare that I walk in freedom, guided by your wisdom and covered by your power. With these words, you step forward, not in fear of the unseen, but in faith that no snare can hold you, because God Himself has gone before you. Sixth prayer. Shield against negative words. Words carry weight. They can build or destroy, heal or wound, bless or curse. Many battles in life are not fought with weapons but with the invisible power of spoken words. Gossip, slander, false accusations, and malicious speech are arrows shot into the soul, often leaving scars deeper than physical wounds. That is why this prayer is crucial. It raises a shield against every negative word spoken against your life, nullifying their effect and declaring that only God's truth will define you. This prayer begins by acknowledging the reality of words. They do not vanish once spoken. They echo, they plant seeds, they shape atmospheres. Some words spoken over you may have been careless while others were intentional, designed to belittle, to discourage, or to sabotage. But prayer allows you to intercept these arrows, to stop their poison from spreading, and to reverse their power. As you lift your voice, you declare that no word spoken against you will prosper. You call upon God to silence false accusations, to disarm lies, and to remove the sting of criticism meant to wound. You ask Him to guard your mind so that you do not internalize the negativity, but instead filter every word through His truth. The power of destructive speech is broken the moment you refuse to believe it and choose to stand on what God says about you. This prayer also includes blessing in place of cursing. You ask God to transform every negative word into an opportunity for growth. Where someone has spoken failure, you declare success. Where someone has spoken weakness, you declare strength. Where someone has spoken defeat, you declare victory. In doing so, you not only shield yourself from harm, but also rise above the cycle of bitterness that words can create. You also pray for your own mouth, because protection is not only about what comes toward you, but also about what flows out of you. You ask God to cleanse your speech, to align your words with truth and life, so that your tongue becomes an instrument of healing, not harm. When you choose to speak blessings, you reinforce the shield around your own spirit and contribute to the transformation of those around you. And as these words are spoken, the weight of negative speech begins to lose its hold. You sense a freedom rising in your heart, a reminder that no person's opinion has the authority to shape your destiny. Only God's voice carries the final word, and His voice declares you chosen, protected, and destined for greater things. So let this prayer seal your heart. Lord, I break the power of every negative word spoken against me. I declare that no slander, no curse, no lie will prosper. Guard my mind from believing what is false, and fill me with the truth of who I am in you. Transform my own speech into a fountain of blessing, so that I may walk in freedom and spread light wherever I go. With this prayer, every destructive word loses its strength, and your life becomes aligned with the eternal voice of God. Seventh prayer. Victory in the midst of battles. There are moments when the weight of opposition feels relentless, when enemies rise from unexpected places, and when challenges come one after another without pause. These seasons test the core of your faith, pressing you to the edge of despair. Yet it is precisely in the midst of battles that victory is forged. This prayer is not for escape, but for strength. Strength to endure, courage to fight, and confidence to know that even when the fight is fierce, the outcome has already been written by God's hand. This prayer begins with recognition. You admit the reality of the battle without denying the presence of God. You refuse to minimize the struggle, but you also refuse to glorify it above the one who has already overcome. You call on God as your warrior, the commander of heavenly armies, the defender who fights for you when your own arms grow weak. In His presence, you realize that you do not stand alone. Angels surround you, His Spirit empowers you, and His promises guarantee your victory. As you pray, you declare that every weapon raised against you will fail. You speak boldly that no attack, whether through injustice, betrayal, persecution, or hidden schemes, has the power to define your story. You proclaim that every storm must bow to the authority of the One who calms the seas, and every chain must break before the power of His name. Your words become declarations of faith, dismantling the enemy's lies and replacing them with the certainty of God's truth. This prayer also seeks renewal. Battles drain strength, leaving you weary and heavy. So you ask God to pour fresh energy into your body, clarity into your mind, and resilience into your spirit. You ask Him to turn exhaustion into endurance, confusion into direction, and despair into determination. You do not simply ask to survive the battle. You ask to thrive in it, to emerge stronger, wiser, and more deeply anchored in faith. In the midst of prayer, you also shift your perspective. You begin to see the battle not as punishment, but as preparation. Every challenge becomes training. Every obstacle becomes refinement. Every confrontation becomes an opportunity to prove that your trust is in the Lord. What the enemy intended for harm, God transforms into fuel for your destiny. And as your words rise, so does your confidence. You sense fear loosening its grip, replaced by boldness that is not your own, but flows from the Spirit within you. You realize that the fight does not end with your strength, but with God's victory. You are not merely enduring, you are conquering. So let this be your prayer. Lord, I ask for victory in the midst of my battles. Strengthen my hands to fight, steady my heart to endure, and fill me with faith that cannot be shaken. I declare that no attack will prevail, no enemy will triumph, and no storm will destroy me. I walk as a conqueror because you have already secured my victory. With this prayer, you step into the battlefield not with trembling, but with triumph, knowing that the war has already been won. 8th prayer, healing from wounds caused by evil. The deepest wounds are not always visible. They can be scars on the heart left by betrayal, rejection, slander, envy, or injustice. Evil does not only seek to harm through external attacks, but also through emotional and spiritual injuries that linger long after the event has passed. These wounds, if left unattended, can turn into bitterness, fear, or mistrust, poisoning the soul and chaining the spirit. That is why this prayer is essential. It asks God not only for protection, but for healing, restoration, and renewal from every mark left by the enemy's attempts to break you. This prayer begins with honesty. You come before God without masks, opening your heart and admitting the pain you carry. You name the wounds, whether recent or buried in the past, and you place them into His hands. In that moment of vulnerability, you create space for His power to move. Healing requires exposure, and prayer becomes the place where hidden hurts are brought into the light of His love. As you lift your voice, you ask God to cleanse every scar of its poison. You pray for the release of bitterness, for the breaking of resentment, and for the lifting of shame. You declare that your identity is not tied to the harm done to you, but to the healing work of God in your life. Every label, every insult, every wound inflicted by the enemy loses its authority in the presence of the One who calls you whole, chosen, and beloved. You also ask for restoration of trust. Wounds often make it difficult to believe again, to open up, to love freely. So you pray for God to soften your heart, to give you courage to rebuild, and to help you see people not through the lens of pain, but through the lens of grace. You ask Him to remove the spirit of fear that hides behind every hurt, and to replace it with confidence that you are safe in His hands. In this prayer, you also seek renewal of joy. Evil wounds seek to drain life, leaving heaviness where lightness once lived. So you ask God to fill your spirit with laughter again, to breathe freshness into your soul, and to restore hope where despair had settled. Healing is not just the absence of pain, it is the return of joy, peace, and freedom. And as these words rise, you begin to sense a shift. The weight of the past loosens, the sting of betrayal weakens, the ache of injustice softens under the warmth of God's love. What once felt like an open wound now begins to feel like a scar, still present, but no longer painful, transformed into a testimony of survival and divine restoration. So let this be your declaration. Lord, I place every wound in your hands. Heal my heart, cleanse my soul, and restore my joy. Let every scar become a testimony of your faithfulness, and let every attempt of the enemy to break me become evidence of your power to rebuild me. I am whole, I am free, and I walk in the strength of your healing. With this prayer, the past loses its grip, and your spirit steps into the freedom of a healed and restored life. Ninth prayer, sealing life with God's peace. Peace is more than the absence of conflict. It is the steady assurance that no matter what rises against you, your heart remains unshaken. It is the calm in the storm, the stillness in the chaos, the unwavering confidence that God is in control. This final prayer is about sealing your life with that peace, a peace so strong that no evil plan, no malicious word, no hidden trap can disturb it. This prayer begins by asking God to cover your entire being with His presence. You invite Him to guard your mind from anxious thoughts, to protect your heart from fear, and to strengthen your spirit against doubt. You ask Him to surround your life like a fortress, where His peace reigns supreme and His light keeps every shadow away. In this moment, you recognize that peace is not something you create on your own. It is a gift poured out from above. As you pray, you declare that no plan of darkness will have the power to steal your peace. You proclaim that even if storms rise, your spirit will remain calm. Even if voices of opposition shout, you will hear only the whisper of God's truth. Even if challenges surround you, you will walk forward with steady steps, because your life is anchored in Him. This peace is not fragile, it is unbreakable, forged in the promises of God and secured by His unfailing love. This prayer also extends beyond yourself. You ask God to seal your family, your home, your work, and your future with the same peace. You declare that every environment you step into will be touched by His presence, that your very life will radiate calm to others, and that those who encounter you will feel the peace of God flowing through you. In doing so, your life becomes not only protected but also a vessel of blessing for those around you. And in this prayer, you also speak gratitude. Gratitude is the language of peace, because it shifts your eyes from what is missing to what has been given. You thank God for victories already received, for battles already won, for protection already provided. You declare that you are not only asking for peace, you are already living in it, because His presence has never left you. As these words flow, you begin to feel a deep rest settle within. The noise of fear fades, the weight of worry lifts, and the shadows of doubt dissolve. What remains is a stillness that strengthens, a calm that empowers, a certainty that no plan of evil can alter what God has sealed. So let this be your closing declaration. Lord, I seal my life with your peace. Let no fear disturb me, no lie deceive me, and no plan of evil succeed against me. Guard my mind, my heart, and my spirit with the calm that comes only from you. I declare that my life is covered, my future is safe, and my path is blessed. I live under your protection, and I walk in your peace. With this final prayer, your journey through protection is complete. The shield is raised, the chains are broken, the traps are destroyed, and the wounds are healed. You are sealed in the peace of God, and nothing, absolutely nothing, can take that away. The victory has already been declared. Every word spoken, every prayer lifted, every declaration of faith made in this journey is not a desperate attempt for survival. It is a proclamation of triumph. You have not walked through these prayers in vain. Even now, as your spirit rests in the presence of God, the heavens have already moved on your behalf. The enemy's plans are dismantled, the traps are broken, the chains are shattered, and the light of divine peace surrounds you. Victory is not something you are waiting for. It is something already written over your life. Look back at the ground you have covered. You faced the weight of fear and found strength. You confronted envy and malice and witnessed their chains break. You sealed your daily steps, guarded your family and home, exposed hidden traps, dismantled the sting of negative words, declared victory in battles, sought healing for your wounds, and finally sealed your life with peace. These are not just prayers. They are weapons that have shifted the atmosphere around you and within you. The conclusion is clear. No evil plan can succeed against you. The one who formed the stars holds your destiny. The one who commands the seas guards your path. The one who conquered death has declared that you are more than a conqueror. What was meant to harm you will turn into testimony. What was designed to break you will build you, and what was sent to silence you will become the very reason others are inspired to believe. Now you step forward not as someone uncertain of the future, but as a warrior walking in confidence. You carry peace that storms cannot shake, strength that battles cannot drain, and faith that darkness cannot extinguish. Your life is covered, your soul is anchored, your destiny is secured. And as you leave this moment of prayer, you carry with you the assurance that victory is not only coming, it is already here. So declare it boldly. The Lord has fought for me. The Lord has covered me. The Lord has secured my life. I walk in blessing. I walk in protection. I walk in victory. Let this truth be the anthem of your days and the shield of your nights, for the victory has already been declared, and nothing on earth or in the realm of darkness can change what God has spoken over you.